And now you have this theme song stuck in your head as well. Haha, suckers. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Parallax Abstraction and welcome to Retro Flashback, showcasing gaming's roots for a new generation. So, after a decent stint of Neo Geo games, we are back on the PC, and we are taking a look at a game that is near and dear to my heart, and which I think is one of the more underappreciated gems of the turn of the millennium. We are taking a look at Revolt. Yes, indeed. This is a pretty interesting title. Not a lot like it out there, really. This is a game that I guess could be best described as a combination of Mario Kart and RC Pro-Am, kind of. Well, you'll see what it's about anyway. So, this is a really interesting title that I really like, despite some weird flaws, which I will show you later on. So, I'm not going to really go into a long discussion of it here, because it would take a while, but there'll be some information in the description below this video. But I am playing this on my modern PC. You were, until very recently, able to purchase this game from Good Old Games, which ran tickety-boo, including things like 1080p video options, and a whole bunch of extra settings like that, mostly due to a fan-written patch for this game. And unfortunately, due to a dispute between the people who made that patch and the current new owners of the Revolt IP, which is a Korean company called Wego Interactive, the game has been pulled from GOG. No idea when or if it's going to come back. So if you want to play this, fortunately, the only way to do it is to get your hands on the original CDs and then install the fan patch separately, which I will also link to. Thankfully, I owned this game from back in the day, so I installed my version, put the fan patch in, and it runs great. The fan patch fixed some of the remaining bugs and added a whole bunch of extra options to it, as you can see here. The game also has full controller support. I was playing this with an Xbox 360 controller, though I did have to rebind the buttons. But I actually think this game plays fine with the keyboard, so that's what I'm going to be doing it with here. So, that out of the way, what is this about? Well, it is an RC racing game done in the Mario Kart sort of vein. It's a arcadey combat racing game, but that is played to scale. So what does that mean? Well, I'll show you here. So, here we go. So you are playing with actual real remote control cars. There are 28 different cars in the game. I'm very early on, so I don't have many of them unlocked, but there are various cars, including ones based with electric engines, gas engines, and there's a special class as well. And there's a whole bunch of different options here. Oop, no. That slug is not. That's not my jam. Dustmite is my jam. So as you can see, you're playing with actual real cars. And this is the neat thing. You're playing on real, quote, real-world settings. So as you can see, some of these are kind of goofy in places you might not see real RC cars playing. But the whole thing is played to scale. And that's what's really cool. So what do I mean by that? Well, check it out. Yep. So this is what's neat. You are RC cars racing in the quote-unquote real world. So everything's a lot bigger than you, because you're tiny little cars, and even though you're only racing at 30 miles an hour, because that's pretty much what electric RC cars did, as you can see, there's still a really good sense of speed to it, because everything's to scale. So 30 miles an hour when you're this slow actually looks pretty dang fast. Oh, you little bugger. And while you're getting the gist of this game right off the bat here, this is an arcade combat racing game. So there are power-ups that you pick up, and those power-ups do various different things to either enhance your progress or detract your enemy's progress. And that's the core idea of it. But, so what, may you ask, makes this game fundamentally different? I'm not going to say better than Mario Kart, because I actually really like the Mario Kart games, but what makes this game so much different in experience? Well, the fact that you are racing RC cars to scale in a scaled environment is kind of unique in its own way. Power-ups are unique in its own way as well. And what's really interesting about this is that though it is very much an arcade game, it also is a little bit simulatory in some ways. And it's a weird thing to say, simulatory. I'm not a word, but you know what I mean. And it's simulatory because if you ever used an actual RC car back in the day, that's one of my more annoying power-ups, is the lightning bolt, which is basically an EMP. If you ever raced RC cars back in the day, you probably remember how driving those cars... Yeah, that jump never works out for me. So there's by the way, there's an actual flip car button, just like in real life. RC cars, you may recall, especially the smaller, less expensive ones, were very, very touchy. You technically, in most cases, had analog steering options with them, but it was pretty slow. You know, it was fairly binary. You had... There was technically nuance to it, but especially when you couldn't see the car close to you, it never really worked out that way. You were either turning all the way left, all the way right, or straight on, and doing anything else was very, very tricky unless you had some of the really, really fancy, expensive cars, which most of us didn't. And that's how this game plays. The handling in this actually demands a lot of care and precision. Bugger. It's very, it is very, very touchy. The steering is very, very sensitive. It is very simple to spin out. Like you can't see me playing this on my keyboard, but most of these turns are being done by very, very quick and subtle key taps. And if I hold it for very long, which I'm not going to do here because I'm actually playing really well, which is not bad considering it's been a while since I played this game. Second place, that's pretty good, and we'll explain why that is later on. But it doesn't take much to spin out, and it's very easy. If you so much as touch an object or the wheel of another car, you can very easily completely spin yourself out and really kind of screw yourself over. And that's the thing with this game, is that this game is hard, and when I say hard, I mean that this game will step on your throat without a second thought. It is absolutely brutal. I'm going to show you here by going into a championship mode. So there are different levels of championship, which does make the AI more aggressive. The difficulty in general is mostly limited to this, which, as you can see here, is not really based on the difficulty of the AI, but how the physics go. So you can have different speeds and different levels of collision. Realistic car collision, or super realistic collision, is basically just as much as you would expect. You so much as touch something and you're boned. So here's the Bronze Cup. Now, place third or better doesn't sound too hard, does it? Oh, how little ye know. So the AI in this game pulls no punches whatsoever. It does what it has to do to win. I wouldn't say that it's cheap, though sometimes some of the random power-ups it pulls are a little suspect, shall we say. But it will play brutally. It will not be nice. It will cut you off. It will ram you into objects. It will try to do stuff like that. As you can see, they won't even try to avoid you. They will just ramrod straight into you in order to derail you from the track. And this is, unfortunately, also the biggest turnoff of this game for a lot of people. I've actually never finished this game. I've never come close because it gets so hard and demands so much precision later. It is almost like F-Zero. It's almost like F-Zero GX on the GameCube was, if you remember that game. That game just got stupid difficult, and this is exactly like that. It demands that you play it an insane amount to get really good at it. It demands precision, and it demands that you play with the level of cheap brutality that the computer does, and that's going to be a turnoff for a lot of people. Even back in the day when games were fairly well known for being difficult, this made a lot of people go, holy crap, really? And for me personally, that didn't bother me because this is a game that is much more about casual fun for me. This is not a game you take seriously or that I made it a mission to finish like I do with a lot of games that I play. I was just kind of like, this is a game I would fire up, run a few races on it, basically play until the computer just got too mean and would just go, that's it, good enough for me. And I think that's still what this is. If you want to dig into this and get super good at it, you absolutely can, but it is a little So here's a power-up that I was hoping to show you guys. So this is kind of like a hot potato type dealie. Can I hit him? Ah, I missed him. So what that power-up is that's an interesting one in that you can't choose when that triggers. That one triggers automatically, and as you can see, your car essentially becomes a bomb. Hi there. And it's a hot potato type thing, so as you saw, I had a fuse going on me, but if I manage to touch another car, I will actually pass the ticking bomb onto him, and in turn, he could pass it back to me, or he could pass it to somebody else, and whoever has the bomb when the fuse runs out blows up and gets their progress severely curtailed. This one is just a simple boost, which also sounds like a great thing, except for the fact that, as you can see, it is very easy to throw yourself out of whack when you're going that quick. Oh, I got another one. And there's other interesting power-ups like water balloons and weird EMP stuff and that. I mean, that's the interesting part about this game. While in some ways this almost feels like an RC simulator, the power-ups are anything but. It is completely goofy and comical, just like you would get from a Mario Kart or other arcade games like that, which is what I really love about it. Hey, I actually qualified. That's a rare thing to do on your first try. Zap you just for good measure anyway. So we'll continue this on here. And now I get to show you another environment. The supermarket. Yeah, I don't know of any RC leagues when I was a kid that raced in supermarkets, but hey, that would have been really cool if such a thing existed. But as you can see, this comes with its own challenges, like, well, racing in freezers. Now, I don't know of any freezers where the floor is actually made of ice. I would imagine that's probably some kind of health and safety issue, but hey, video games, y'all. But as you can see, that adds its own special challenge to it. Busted door. Now that I saw plenty of. Hey, excuse me. It's a nice shot. So you're... Oh, you bugger. So yeah, stuff like that happens on a regular basis. Or the enemy will do things like that, where they'll go ahead of you and steal power-ups. Or you'll run into your own fake power-up that you dropped yourself because you're an idiot. Shut up. And this is what was really neat, is the environments were very, very different. And it was kind of weird because everything was based in the real world. Like, you could look at most of the environments in this game and go, I could see that being an actual thing where, you know, people would race real RC cars, but it never really would happen in the real world. But it's a weird thing. Like, it's fake and fantasy and very weird, but at the same time, there's some little nugget of reality grounding in there. And that was one of the things that was so charming about this game. This, to me, feels like a game that was really made when somebody had a vision and didn't compromise it. And just to say how weird that was at the time, I mean, other than the fact that there's never really been another game like this, it was also the fact that this game came out of Acclaim, which is a now almost 10 years defunct publisher that almost exclusively made licensed shovelware games. So really either games that were bad or games that were based on movies or TV shows or toy properties or whatever. Wow, second again. I'm doing all right. Which were also bad. Museum, this is a great one. This is one of my favorite environments. And to see a game like this come out of Acclaim that was frankly good at all. Oh, the joy of it. If this was a modern game, I would have gotten an achievement for that, most likely. So as you see here, we're racing on marble floors, which are quite slick indeed. But to see a title like this come out of Acclaim was really unusual. They didn't make good games very often. They certainly didn't make unique games very often. But this came out of Iguana London, which later became Acclaim Studios London, which was a developer that had a pretty good pedigree and had made some interesting stuff. They were actually formerly Probe Entertainment, which made some interesting stuff. I don't know why they changed their name multiple times, but at the end of it all, they became Acclaim London. And this really feels like a game where a designer had a vision. He was like, I want to make a Mario Kart-like game, or perhaps they were actually given a mandate from Acclaim where they said, hey, that Mario Kart thing's popular, we want one too. And they went, okay, well, we want to make it with RC cars, we want to make it in sort of unique environments with goofy power-ups, but we want it to play more like an RC car game, and we want it to be brutally difficult. Like, Mario Kart on the high difficulties is really hard. This game will kick your ass even on a low difficulty. on the hard difficulties, it is madness what this game is like. But they managed to get it made, and I love any game that, even if it ends up not being super fun, you can tell was made by a passionate designer who had a vision and fought for said vision. And I really don't think you can argue that's what this game became. You little bugger. I'm doing remarkably well for a championship in general, especially given that I haven't played for a while. I wanna beat this. And I love any game that's like that, that you can tell, that you can just get a feeling from it was made with passion and heart and by someone who fought for what they wanted and managed to get it. And that's really what this feels like to me. And some people are going to be turned off by its difficulty, and I can't blame you. I mean, the difficulty in this game gets to me too. I don't play it for long stretches as a result of that. But this is a game that also does reward practice and patience. You will get better at this game by playing it more often. And if you're willing to put in the time, you will get better at it. And I think it's just wholly unique. Like I said, nothing else like this has ever really existed. There have been other kart racing games, other good kart racing games, even on the PC, but nothing like this. And that's why this game, despite not being uber successful, as far as I know, this game, despite coming out on a lot of platforms, nobody really bought it. Bah. I'm going to show you guys one more environment here. Nobody really bought this game as I understood it, but it had a very, very devoted cult following to the point where a group of fans have spent years working on a second patch for this game that actually fixed a lot of its problems and made this game that very few people bought actually run on modern computers like a dream. And that's, I think, sort of reflective of the passion that went into making this game, is the fact that there is passion behind its preservation as well. Even though the people who wrote the patch for this game probably wrote it knowing that they, you know, it was going to appeal to a very limited number of people, they still did it because they went, hey, Revolt's friggin' awesome. And kudos to those guys, because this is, this game still holds up really well. Like, for a game that came out in 1999-2000, it still looks pretty darn good. Almost had that guy. It looks pretty darn good. It plays well. The CD soundtrack is still good. That's the other cool thing about the fan patch, is that this game utilized a technology called Red Book Audio, which basically meant that because this game shipped on CDs, rather than create the music digitally, which wouldn't have sounded as good and would have made the game take up a lot more space, some developers actually created real produced full-on CD quality music and put it as audio tracks on the actual game CD, which the game would call up during play as needed. It would just call up different tracks. And the really neat thing about it was that you could, as a result of that, you could actually take the game CD, put it in a CD player, and play the soundtrack on demand, which was really, really neat. And the fan patch digitized all that music so that you don't actually need to have the CD in your system in order to get at this stuff. And the soundtrack is still really good. It fits really well. That theme song is bloody infectious, as you heard. That thing will be stuck in your head for forever. And it's still a lot of fun. This game does have multiplayer in it on the PC end. Unfortunately, it does not have split-screen multiplayer, and I actually don't know if the fan patch corrected any multiplayer or not. It's funny. I'll show you what it looks like here. When you go to the multiplayer menu, this was back in an era where some people actually still did use dial-up modems in order to connect to each other for multiplayer. So it was that was an option in here, and there was internet play. There's no just straight-up network play in this. You have to use internet play for it to work. I have not tried it out. I should try it with somebody. I really, really hope it does. It does work, because I actually did play this game back in the day with some people, and when you're just playing against other human beings and not a computer that has a pretty clear advantage, it is a lot more fun, and it's really goofy and dumb, and we had a lot of fun with this. This is something I may have to try at a LAN party this year if I can do it. But as you can see, there's a number of different options there. There also is a track editor in this game, which does work in the fan patch version. I'm not going to be able to show it to you because it's actually a different executable, so if I run this, it will screw up my recording, as I learned last time I tried to do this. But it's there, and you can develop your own stuff if you want. You've got some stats stuff here, and there is a ton of cars to unlock. There are 28 cars and 14 tracks in this game, so it is not barren for content. There is no doubt about that. If you're willing to put in the time and effort, this is a pretty significant package here. So there are actually a number of different ways to play this game as well right now. The PC version, in my opinion, is the definitive one. This is the one that I know. But this also did come out on the PlayStation 1, the Nintendo 64, and the Dreamcast. Haven't played any of those editions, though the one thing that is nice about them, as I understand it, is they do have local split-screen multiplayer, which is great. And in 2012, a company called WeGo Interactive actually purchased the rights to this game from Throwback Entertainment, which was a Canadian company that bought all of Acclaim's IP when they went under. And as a result, they have actually done iOS and Android versions of this. I've never tried those. I can't attest to how good they are. I imagine playing this game with touchscreen controls, especially with this difficulty, would be pretty brutal. I can't imagine that would be a lot of fun, to be honest with you, but it might work, and hey, options are, more options are always good, right? So you can get those various different ways. I believe the PC version with the fan patch is far and away the best way to do it. I'm just going to do a simulation race here just for giggles, just to show you how ridiculous this is. Let's try this in the museum. I really do hope the GOG version does come back, because that's the way to play basically all of these games. Yeah, so you see I just drove under that guy. That's what realistic stuff is like. I think that's the best way to play this game, and unfortunately, yeah, I really hope that WeGo and the developers of the fan patch... Oh, you bugger. Oh, we passed it on. And the developers of the fan patch can sort their stuff out and make this available again, because this is a real gem that more people should have the ability to play. But if you do have the original game, as I thankfully do, the fan patch works a jig. It's fantastic. It's still being actively developed. Those guys have done an absolutely fantastic job, and I really hope they're able to continue doing so, because this is a wholly unique title, and one that I really think more people should get a chance to play. It still holds up very, very well, and I'm gonna play some more of this, because this is still a lot of fun. And obviously, being from the year 2000, this will run on anything. So if you want a good little time waster to play on your work laptop on your lunch hour, well, this'll do you just fine. But yeah, the game is Revolt, developed by Probe Entertainment / Iguana Studios London / Acclaim Studios London, and published by Acclaim Entertainment in 1999. We're looking at the PC version. It is also out on the N64, the PlayStation 1, the Dreamcast, iOS, and Android. Amazing this came out in so many places and still didn't do very well. I would love to see... I still think this is really good, and I don't know, maybe someday we'll see somebody do like a spiritual sequel or something to this for modern platforms, because I would really love to see something like that. But this is great, and if you like arcade racing games, don't let the difficulty scare you. Try it out. My name has been Parallax Abstraction. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you next time.